Welcome, everyone. I have 10 o'clock on the nose. I will call the Commissioners' meeting of April 19th to order. And I know the agenda says that veteran Patrick Rambo is with us today, but he is really not. He's here in spirit with veteran Don Bradley, who's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And we're joined once again by Reverend Roberta Johnson, who will lead us in the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lead not unto thine own understanding, but in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path." Let us pray. Father God, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, I ask your blessings over this meeting, that it will be productive and informative. Continue to strengthen these commissioners mentally, physically, and spiritually as they persevere in doing that which is good for the entire county. Let them know, even in the midst of painful circumstances and the uncomfortable decisions they sometimes have to make, that your hand of protection is always upon them. Therefore, they will not fear, regardless of the storm, for their hope is in you and your love for them. Now the Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee, and may he give each and every one of you peace. Amen.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 2 on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the April 5th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Before I open up for public comment, for those of you that don't know, that is not Greg Bauer sitting with us today. Natasha Werball is sitting in for Greg, who is at a conference, and she is the assistant controller. So we're glad to have her here today. So I'll open up for any public comment. For the agenda items, or then at the end of the agenda, we have another period. Okay. All right. Just checking. Okay. We'll move on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items as listed below for the Office of Children, Youth, and Families and the York County Planning Commission.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We received some feedback a couple weeks ago about expanding maybe a little bit more on items on the consent agenda. So item number 8 relates to an agreement with Children, Youth, and Families. And I asked Claire Dahl if she could come and maybe speak about that. If I can get the cursor to work here.
Good morning.
Oh,
So-
sorry.
That's all right.
It's technology. Okay.
All good?
Number 8,
All right.
thanks.
Number 8. So this is a renewal for an agreement that we have with Milton Hershey Medical Center. We've had this in place for a couple years, and it's really an option for us to get an expert opinion when there's some type of injury to a child. So let's say a case comes in, they have a broken arm, the caregiver says, hey, they tripped over a toy, fell off a step. We're not quite sure, so what we can do is we can send it to them, and they can tell us, yes, that's an injury that's consistent with that type, with the explanation, or, hey, now there's something more going on. So it's really about us and due diligence in our investigations.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We'll move on to new business.
I make a motion to ratify a lease agreement between the County of York on behalf of the Facilities Management Department and Rexroth Equities LP, Dallastown, PA, for office space at Magisterial District Office 19301, located in Red Line, PA, for a total cost of $95,083.20 for the first year, with the annual increases of 1.5% for the period of October 1st, 2024 to September 30th, 2023.
Second.
I have a motion.
2033.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion to approve a purchase between the County of York on behalf of the Public Works Department and Whitmoyer Auto Group, Mount Joy, Pennsylvania, for a 2023 Chevrolet Tahoe for use by the Corners Department for a total cost of $58,184.46 under a PA CoStarz contract.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Make a motion to approve a contract between the County of York on behalf of the York County Prison and Lobar Associates Construction, Dillsburg, PA, for repairs to 6 housing unit shower floors, ceilings, and walls for a total cost of $299,518.47 using a Keystone Purchasing Network.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I make a motion to approve a contract between the County of York on behalf of the York County Prison and SSM Industries, Inc., New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, to provide replacement of a new mixing valve in the boiler room for a total cost of $25,770.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Stalled.
Is it?
Okay, I'll have to manually, let me see. Apologize. Can you read that?
Yeah, I can read it. It's a little small, but I think I can read it. I'll read motion 5. A motion to approve a contract between the County of York on behalf of the York County Prison and ESCO Securities, Ephrata, Pennsylvania, for camera licensing for a total cost of $12,867 for the period of April 24th, 2023 to April 24th, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I make a motion to approve the release of funds in the amount of $7,336.30 to Pharma Natural Lands Trust of York County for the acquisition of the conservation easement of 116 plus or minus acres in York Township owned by Paul E. Keeney.
Second.
A motion and a second, and it looks like Sean would like to say a few words on this motion.
Great. Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm Sean Kenny. I'm the Executive Director of the Farm and Natural Lands Trust of York County. We appreciate your support. This 116-acre property is on one of the most traveled roads and one of the most highly visited areas in our agricultural community, at least towards the center of the county. It sits between Keelmar Farms, which is the former Kenmar Farms, Perrydale Farms, and Miller Plant Farm. This was a project that we started working on and started talking about many, many moons ago. Paul and his brother co-owned the property. His brother passed away. The plan was that after Paul had passed, the property would go split between 2 churches. At some point, I brought up the idea of preserving the property before that. One of the attorneys involved said it was one of the most complex but most rewarding projects of his career. It involved a lot of people. So now the property is preserved. It's 116 acres, almost all agriculture. It's actually being split by the 3 farms that we mentioned are purchasing it. I expect this will lead to a lot more activity in the area and hopefully some lasting work. I do have some meetings with neighboring landowners coming up soon. Contains 2 tributaries to Cadorus Creek as well with nice little forested buffer areas. Like I said, this is a prime York County farm. They don't get more scenic and pretty, and appreciate your support. And I'll note the price per acre here is very small. It was a donated easement as part of the process with the estate. So I would say thank you to all the parties involved, but there's too many, but I'll thank all of you Have a good day.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Make a motion to approve a contract between the County of York on behalf of the York County President and Williams Service Company, York, PA, for repairs to one broken dishwasher for a total cost of $16,248.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Make a motion to approve a memorandum of understanding between the County of York on behalf of the President and the YWCA York, York, PA, to provide free of charge victim services for inmates impacted by violence, sexual assaults, and human trafficking for the period of April 19th, 2023 to April 19th, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Motion to approve a purchase by the County of York on behalf of the Department of Emergency Services 911 and CDWG of Chicago, Illinois for software licenses used to connect the mobile data computers used by the police departments in York County back to the computer-aided dispatch system for a total cost of $18,135.34.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Motion to approve the weekly disbursements for the week of April 12, 2023 totaling $22,190,387.06.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I did ask Tyler about this, our Chief Financial Officer. We transferred about $10 million back to the capital reserve account into our retirement account.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Motion to approve the weekly disbursements for the week of April 9th, 2023 totaling $6,063,992.51.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Jeez. On to resolutions.
Motion to approve Resolution 2023-07, authorizing the filing of redevelopment assistance capital program grant application in the amount of $2 million by the Children's Aid Society, SOPA, COB Incorporated for partial funding for construction of a new child care center located in York City, listing the York County of York as the grantee for the application. This resolution is subject to the execution of a sub-grantee and cooperation agreement by the Children's Aid Society, SOPA, COB Incorporated, for utilization of RACP funds. President Commissioner is granted the authority to execute any additional documents in the furtherance of this grant.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. For those of you that aren't familiar with the RACP program, this is kind of a standard practice. The county serves as kind of the fiduciary agent for the nonprofits in our community who want to apply for RACP grants. So we're certainly happy to help the Children's Aid Society. For those of you that don't know what they do, I would encourage you to look up their mission and vision, but they serve some of our most vulnerable children in our community. So the commissioners are certainly happy to help them further advance getting a RACP grant. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Motion to approve an indemnification agreement between the County of York and Children's Aid Society, SOPA, COB, Inc., Adams County, Pennsylvania, in relation to the Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program grant.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Motion to ratify Resolution 2023-08 pursuant to the provisions of Act 1995-52 and Section 7501 of the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Services Code, as amended to hereby establish a temporary 30-day countywide ban on any and all open burning. This burn ban shall supersede any municipal ordinance to the contrary and shall be effective April 16, 2023.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. We did want to share just a few comments. We've received a couple inquiries regarding this resolution. Just wanted to let folks know that the Fire Chiefs Association and fire chiefs across the county had reached out to the Board of Commissioners regarding this resolution. In part, it's due to the current weather conditions. There have been a lot of fires recently, and there was a fire that was large enough that it required multiple airdrops of water, and suppression materials to assist in extinguishing fire. According to the fire chiefs, this type of suppression equipment is not something that frequently occurs in York County, and the conditions that we're experiencing are not something that is typical for this time of year in our community. So this has been put in place, and it will be evaluated on a weekly basis. We know we did receive some rain last week. The temperatures have dropped, so we just want to let folks know that this was based on the recommendation from the fire chiefs in our community, which we need to rely on as the subject matter experts when it comes to fire, and that we will take a look at this on a weekly basis. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. To appointments.
Motion to approve the appointment of Jennifer Shimkonis to the Area Agency on Aging Advisory Council for a 3-year term effective April 19, 2023 through April 18, 2026.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. There were no executive sessions. Any other business? Okay. We'll open up to public comment. So if you could state your name and your municipality for the record, and if you could leave your comments to 3 minutes, that would be terrific.
May I approach?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Sure. This is one single packet, right?
My name is Dennis L. Ness. I live at 239 Tila Drive, Dallastown, 17313. I've lived in York Township for over 50 years, and in the past have been elected commissioner from Ward 2 in York Township. I'm retired on a fixed income, and I'm concerned about my community. I'm here to present an issue of what I believe is unlawful taxing of several properties owned by York Township. On May 11th, 2021, York Township purchased a property at 155 Oak Road, located across from the township campus. Upon payment of the contract, the property previously used as an agricultural use was deeded to York Township. After the contract payment, the property should have been given a new county land code to reflect its new ownership. Instead, the agricultural use was continued and the county, school, fire, and township tax payments were shifted to the taxpayers of the township. The question is this: is the property taxable to the taxpayers or exempt from local taxation if owned by the township, or taxable to the persons leasing the property? This is not an opinion issue. This is an issue written into Pennsylvania Constitution and should be treated as a serious financial gain or loss for the parties involved. Pennsylvania Supreme Court case law has determined two forms of tax avoidance: immunity and exemption. In this instance, tax exemption applies. Exemption requires a properly employed and applied, quote, public purpose test. The contract of Oak Road in Section 31M requires the township to develop a park on that property and name it Chem Park, requiring the land use code to change. The contract states the property at 155 Oak Road will continue to be used as an agricultural use. Presently, the property is not, quote, actually and regularly used for public purposes, unquote.
You have 20 seconds.
The property is being used for a profit use and therefore should be taxed, and the tax liability should be passed to the tenant and the farmer named in the contract, not the township taxpayers. The property should have been issued a county land use code of E recreational/parks/camps,
Mr. Ness?
and no tax would have been assessed to the taxpayers. After the tenant and farmer paid their rents required by the contract,
Mr. Ness, if you
the
could make
property
some
thus
closing
became
comments,
taxable,
please.
and the partial information should have been changed. There's an additional tax issue on the 155 Oak Road parcel. The contract in Section 37J requires the buyer, the township, to pay the clean and green rollback taxes. This rollback tax should have been paid by the seller, the landowner, at settlement.
Yes.
The tax, I am speaking, ma'am. I am speaking, ma'am. I have the right of free speech, please. The taxpayers are potentially paying a penalty by contract that is normally imposed on the landowner to benefit the taxpayers. After the parcel was purchased, the land use code should have been changed. The clean and green relief would have been lost to the landowner. The township owns another 20-acre parcel at Farm Lane Drive that is near the township campus. The property was acquired in January of 2005. The Farm Lane parcel has a land use code of E, recreational parks, camps. I filed a right to know for any contract for the use of the property. The right to know did not include any contract for the use of the property. The purchase contract has a deed restriction conditioned upon satisfaction of conditions, subject to the restriction that no other use than public park, recreational facility, park, or building. The land is presently being farmed, and there are no local taxes collected on the property on the county tax parcel information. I did not ask the township to explain the reason for the different uses of their property. The county should investigate why there are no taxes paid on the use of the property at Farm Lane Drive. Common sense says someone using the property should pay local taxes. York County is a third-class county, and under state law is granted exclusive authority to appoint and administer the assessment department for the county. The law, Consolidated County Assessment Law, allows errors to be corrected. This is a constitutional issue, and I've listed several errors that have occurred in York Township and request the county commissioners have the assessment department investigate the issues I have raised and correct the errors as needed. I request a written answer to my petition within 30 days.
Mr.
thank
Ness,
you for
you've
your
used
time.
6 minutes.
Hello, my name is Stephen Carr, Inham Township. The last time I came up, I just briefly spoke that the Codorus Creek Rail Trail was lined with creosote on the rail trail, on the old railroad ties. The previous update is they're still there, they're stacked there, but it's still a health issue to both aquatic and to human life. As you know, rainwater could make it erode into the ground and into the aquatic life of the creek, and which could go into the lake as well. And under the Constitution, it says, the people have a right to clean air and pure water and the preservation of the natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic values of the environment. Pennsylvania's public natural resources are the common property of all people, including generations yet to come. As a trustee of these resources, the Commonwealth shall conserve and maintain them for the benefit of all people. And I'm just asking that maybe you can send somebody in or get a hold of, I don't know, Sean Kenny or whoever's the head of the York Rail Trail. I don't know who that is.
I did share the information with the Conservation
So,
District,
yeah.
so I'm sure that they will follow up. So I'll
Right.
do another check-in with them, but I did relay the information on to them.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Good Morning.
I don't want to start my clock so you don't only get a minute. Let me restart it. I know Deidre's doing it as well, so just want to make sure you get your time. Okay.
I'm Morgan from East Hopewell. Speaking of the Constitution and Pennsylvania Constitution, or Constitution, it is there to uphold our elected officials, to keep them in line because of us. In 2020, it was clearly violated. In Pennsylvania Constitution, it says general election day, not general election week. And it also says absentee ballot, not ballot boxes, not mail-in boxes, not mail-in ballots. It only says absentee ballots. There's a big difference. Absentees have to be requested and autographed for. Random mail-in ballots is not on the Constitution whatsoever. Neither is voting week, election week, or election month. Now, with both houses in Harrisburg, did they violate their constitutional oath by casting the electors? That's a big question. Over 6,000 people have signed a petition to get rid of the electronic machines. There's nowhere in the Constitution where it says use of electronic machines or computers for election day, for ballot tallies. Over 6,000 people have signed petitions to get rid of them in York County. That's how big of a concern it is. And we were just a little shy of the 8,000, so 10% we needed. I am requesting that election day get put back as constitutional, general election day, and absentee ballots only. No machines, no mail-ins, no ballot boxes, no drop boxes for a week and a half or a month, no early day voting. There's election day. That is it. It doesn't mention any of the other stuff. Hand counting, yes. Machines, no. The other thing that I would like to address is,
You have
can
about
there be funding
30 seconds
for-
left.
Huh?
About 30 seconds left.
Can there be additional funding to expand the sheriff's department and adding deputies throughout the York County? Wherever there is police needed or funded, supplement them with more sheriff's deputies. A lot of us like to see that. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else?
Matthew Smith, Main Hunt Township. It was a good meeting so far today. I like it. But I like seeing Mr. Dahl here explaining children and youth stuff. So that's a good change with things. And there's a lot of issues in our communities because and also it's Child Abuse Prevention Month. So while that's going on, it's nice hearing Mr. Dahl talk about stuff like that. But we have other issues going on in all of our school districts in the county. And I was told, I'm not sure if this is true, correct me if I'm wrong after I'm done, but I was told that school districts, along with their solicitor, can also consult the county solicitor. Not sure if that's true or not, but I would also keep that in mind while we're still looking and interviewing for a new county solicitor after the departure of the last one, because we have a lot of issues going on, and now it's down to people don't know what bathrooms to be in. And it's getting ridiculous. And they are basing their procedures off of a flawed Third Circuit Court ruling. And nobody seems to have the backbone to give proper legal advice and interpret precedent and laws as they're written. And there's a lot of perversion of laws going on. So I would ask that everybody look into that as far as the county solicitor goes, if they can be consulted by school districts, because a lot of school districts are making the news now, including the one where I'm from. And these school districts are going to need help. So everybody's going to need to work together on this, including with possible child abuse issues. So we really should be aware of these things. And if anything can be done at the county level, it would be great if we could all work together on that. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thanks. I think there might have been one other person. Any more public comment?
Ralph Brandt, West Manchester Township, and I wanted to be last because I have a little bit different tone. I'm usually here to try to tell the county commissioners you need to change direction. Today is going to be different. My background is computers, technology, data communications, licensed radio operator with the FCC. And I'm seeing some good things happening that are being done. One of the biggest things that I see is the expansion of fiber, particularly in the southern part of the state of the county. We cannot continue to rely on a growth of cellular to allow people to access the internet for most of their work. Okay, if I'm out on the road and I need to do it, great. But when I'm in my home, I need to do it on wire because that radio spectrum is just about gone. The compression and all the techniques to get more out of it, they're getting harder and harder to do. And I've noticed that Commissioner Wheeler has been a champion on this, and the only thing I'll say to the other two of you, kick in and make it happen, okay? By the way, one of her signs is on my front lawn, and my friends.
I'd rather not talk about politics in the office here. I
Oh,
mean,
I'm sorry.
I
But,
just,
okay, I'll skip that, but I'll say this. There's room on the front lawn.
it's fine.
The fiber is important for business, industry, education, and the community. Second item is the tax relief for volunteers. I'm a volunteer fire police in West Manchester Township. Early on, I said if I never get 1 cent of tax relief, that's a good thing for me, because I don't want to see the West Manchester Township budget go up by $1 to $3 million.
So you have about 30 seconds
Okay.
left.
And I just say thank you for that. The other thing is, on that roll, I am thrilled that you guys passed the burn ban. Thank you.
So I'll just add, yes, I am a big champion for broadband, but the other two commissioners are supportive of that effort. So just want to make sure that you're clear. Yeah, okay.
Whatever.
Okay. Any other public comment? Okay, if I could have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
If I could I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned and apologize for the technical difficulties. Okay, so we can move on to salary board. If I could have a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the April 5th, 2023 salary board meeting as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Open up to any public comment on to item number 4.
I make a motion to approve the positions, salaries, hours of work, and fringe benefits as provided by existing collective bargaining agreements or as set forth in the York County Employee Handbook or York County Policy Manual for the following departments and row offices as stated below, with no additional benefits or concessions unless otherwise noted, and there is listed in the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. An executive session of the salary board was held on April 17th for the purpose of discussing general personnel matters to include discussions on salary modifications, job job description reviews and reclassification reviews related to the Facilities Department and 911. The Salary Board discussed and received information and advice regarding such matters. The Salary Board did not adopt any policy, procedure, or take any formal action on such matters. Any items upon which action has been requested would be included as a motion on the agenda. I'll open it back up again for any additional public comment. If I could have a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone. And again, apologize for some of the technical difficulties here. I don't have that in my packet. I didn't have the retirement agenda in my packet. So we can call the retirement board to order. We could move on to item number 2 on the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting held on March 15th, 2023 as submitted.
I'll second the
I
motion.
have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll open up to any public comment. Hearing none. On to new business.
I make a motion to include the following individuals on the monthly annuity payment list as listed below, and they are Colleen Clay Shulman from the DA's office, Dennis Falls from the prison, Carla Forbes from court admin, Bonnie Harbold from juvenile probation, and Stephen May from the prison.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We did not have any executive sessions.
Excuse me, we did have an executive session.
Oh, that's right. What was it, David?
So we had one executive session was held on April the 11th to confirm the health insurance eligibility of a current active employee and to discuss updating the summary plan documents.
Thank you, Barb. Okay, I'll open up for any public comment. Hearing none, if I could have a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. And I'll just double check. That is the last thing. Okay.
So.
All right. Thanks, everyone.